It's a worldwide thing. You ever stop to ask yourself, what is your purpose? And what happens when you find out that your purpose is multi-purposed? What do you do then? Never lock yourself in a box. Because one thing, man, that we're created absolute, we're created supreme, and we're created infinitely, which means limitless and boundless. Never lock yourself into one thing. Always be many-purposed, if that makes any sense. Now I have to use the bathroom because I'm really close to home, and it's a human thing that happens. Turn it off. It's Pathfinder. Peace.
So welcome to the mirror. I was really close to my house and I had to use the bathroom. Sorry. This workshop is a journey, one that requires you to look within yourself, not just with the eyes of someone who's been through hard times, but with the eyes of somebody who's ready for something real. I want to start with a story, my story. When I first found myself behind bars, I wasn't beaten down. I wasn't resigned to my circumstances. I'd always carried a sense of confidence, hope, and faith in my ability to rise above the odds. As an athlete, I was used to overcoming challenges. But here's the thing, while I believed in myself, I was still missing something crucial. I was not looking at myself, not the way you would expect. Sure, I was confident, but that confidence was built on everything external. The titles I'd earned, the respect I gained. What I didn't realize at the time was that true transformation begins with facing yourself. Not as you wish to be, but as you are right now. That's what the mirror is all about. This workshop was called the mirror. Not the reflection in the glass, but the reflection in your soul. It's about staring into your own eyes and saying, I'm ready to face who I am, not just who I hope I am. And I'll tell you, there came a moment in my 14 years of my incarceration when I found myself standing in front of that mirror, the one that looks like a license plate, funhouse mirror, my head shaped all funny in it, asking myself questions I haven't dared ask myself before. I didn't just see the guy with confidence. I didn't see the athlete. I saw someone, yes, flawed, but full of possibility. It was there in that moment when I decided to face everything about myself, the good, the bad, the painful, the hopeful, that my true transformation began. Then I went down to Mr. Turner's office and told him, like, yo, man, I think I found it. And he was like, yeah, you did, basically. Now I'm passing that mirror to you. This is your time to look at yourself honestly and consciously, not just to judge, but to reflect, not to fixate on the past, but to acknowledge where you are right now, and then decide where you want to go next. I want to tell you guys a little bit about the mirror, the power of the mirror. The mirror is one of the most powerful tools you can use on this journey. But it's not just a reflective surface, it's a process. It's about self-reflection, the act of stopping long enough to think about what you're feeling, thinking, and doing. Now remember, feeling, thinking, and doing is something we're going to get deeper into later. And you've all walked a different path to get here today. And you all carry your own stories. But here's the thing though, we're all going to be looking into the same mirror. The mirror won't lie, and it won't make excuses. It's not going to tell you what you want to hear. It's going to show you exactly what's inside. And that's the key to change. You don't have to be ashamed of the reflection that you see. It's the first step toward a new reality. The mirror is here to help you identify where you are emotionally, mentally, and physically right now, so you can begin the work of transformation. It's not about beating yourself up over mistakes or regrets. It's about owning where you are, and from there, taking intentional action to create the life you want to build. So let me tell you what the mirror is not. The mirror is not a place for judgment, comparison, or false hope. It's not about putting on a mask or hiding behind somebody else's perspective of you. It's about reality. We don't need more modalities, we need reality. It's about confronting what you've been avoiding, the patterns you've been stuck in, and the beliefs that may be holding you back. But don't worry, this process isn't about digging into shame or guilt. It's about self-awareness. The more you become aware of your emotions and thoughts, the more power you have to change them. The more you understand about what drives your decisions, the more control you have over your future. That's the only power and control you should be worried about. So let's dive in. Today, we're going to break the mirror down together. And I'm going to guide you through the exercises, but I want you also to be active participants. You're not just here to listen to me speak. This is a workshop, and the power of this comes from your engagement. We won't be holding a mirror in your hands today physically, but the reflection that we're working with is just as real. The mirror is in your soul, your core, your center, or your heart, and it's also in your conscious mind. And it's showing you more than a surface image. It's showing you who you really are beneath the layers. You're not an onion. Let's stop calling ourselves that. What you uncover here is only the beginning. We also talk about science and research. What you're about to experience is the beginning of a new mindset. It's the start of something you might have never thought was before possible. You're about to step into the world of metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking, and see why this was the key that unlocked my own transformation behind bars. And now I'm sharing this tool with you. And if I can do this after 14 years, I know you can do it too. So let's take a minute though. Before we move forward, pause for a second. Not to analyze, just to feel. Think of a moment in your life that changed something in you. It might have been a decision you regret, a time you hurt somebody, or a moment when somebody let you down. Maybe it was a breakthrough, or a moment that everything fell apart. Now ask yourself, what word comes to mind when you think about that moment? What emotion is tied to that word? And where do you feel that emotion in your body? Don't run from this. Don't try to fix it, just face it. Because real growth starts when you stop turning away. The second section of the mirror is called Who Taught You That? Because it's all about educating yourself about who taught you the things that you know. Because that's where the real work begins. We've all picked up things, ways of thinking, surviving, reacting, that we think are just us. So that's just a part of me. My dad was that way, so it's me. But they're not. They came from somewhere. They were passed down. They were taught. They were absorbed even when we weren't aware that it was happening. So now I'm asking you not to just reflect, but challenge this. Who taught you how to deal with anger? Who taught you what success is supposed to look like? Who taught you how to protect your heart? My mom taught us that. Who taught you how to judge yourself? Who taught you how to love somebody? Who taught you how to lose? And who taught you your value? See, most people were never taught how to feel. They were taught how to hide, to perform, to survive, or numb. Some of us were trained to be reactive, to be defensive, and to always expect the worst. We got taught pain before we understood peace. We got taught chaos before we ever tasted clarity. But here's the truth. You're not stuck with what you're taught. Let's break it all the way down. That trigger that goes off when somebody raises their voice at you, that feeling of never being good enough, even when you're doing well, that guilt you carry just for existing, for having needs or for having a past, you could change all that. Everything that was wired into you can be rewired. Everything that was programmed into your thinking can be reprogrammed. And anything that was broken down in your soul, your essence, your core, your energy, whatever you want to call it, it can be rebuilt. Your soul can be rebuilt. Your mind can be upgraded. Your life will be transformed. You do not need permission to become something new. That's the power of metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking, questioning your conditioning, and shifting from living on autopilot to living with intention. So when I ask you who taught you that, it's not about blame, it's about taking the keys back. You don't have to keep repeating what was modeled for you. You can redesign your own internal system. You are not broken. You are not your past. You are not your label. And you are not what they told you you'd always be. You are a builder. You are a coder of thought. And you are a soul under reconstruction for a life resurrection. And from this point forward, you get to decide what beliefs stay, what patterns get retired, like shoes over a wire or pagers, and what kind of life are you ready to build from the inside out? We're going to move on to feelings, thoughts, and acts. There used to be this thought chain while we were in prison that I kind of had a hard time with. And I used to talk to Mr. Turner about it a lot. I want to break that chain and bring a chain back so some of us can understand the mathematics behind our feelings, our thoughts, and our actions, because things derive from my heart and they move to my thoughts, then they go out. So this section is all personal to me, and it helped me transform, understanding that feelings, thoughts, and acts. Now that we started questioning what shaped you, let's talk about how this whole thing actually works. Every single decision, reaction, and behavior you had ever had followed a specific order: feelings, thoughts, acts. It starts in the soul, what you feel. Then it travels northbound to the mind on what you think. Then it moves into the body. That's the action phase. You don't get angry for no reason. You feel something first, maybe hurt, embarrassed, ignored. Then the thought follows. Damn, these people are playing me. Then you act, you yell, you shut down, you walk out, you blow up. Most people never slow down long enough to realize what just happened. But if you trace it back, the feeling comes first. So why do feelings come first? Let's clear this up for anybody in the room who's wondering. Science backs this. Before your brain even has time to fully form a thought, your amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, reacts to the stimulus, a word I learned from my homie. In fact, the neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux, I'm taking his name, he discovered that emotional signals can reach the amygdala before the thinking part of the brain even processes what's going on. Translation: you feel before you think every time. Your brain is built to survive first and analyze second. That means emotions aren't irrational, they're instinctive. But if you don't learn how to pause, identify what you're feeling, and process the thought that follows, you'll stay reactive, stuck in loops. That's recidivism. It begins there. So here's what I want to ask you now. What's an emotion that shows up often for you but rarely gets acknowledged? Is it insecurity, resentment, shame, panic, jealousy, loneliness? Most of us only focus on the loud reactions, not the quiet feelings that were there first. The second question would be, how do you act when you feel unseen or misunderstood? Do you lash out, shrink, get silent, get reckless? That's not weakness, though. That's a signal. And you can learn to catch the feeling before it turns into action. And you can change everything that way. The final question: were you ever told not to cry? It's human. So learn to pause. Reclaim your power at the root. You already know by now feelings come first. Not thoughts, not actions, feelings. This is just a Pathfinder thing. And if you don't know what to do with your feelings, they will decide your life for you. Let me read that again. If you don't know what to do with your feelings, they'll definitely decide your life for you. The moment you feel something before the thought forms is the moment that decides who you're going to be next. But here's what most people don't realize. Pausing is not natural. It's not automatic and it's not easy. It's something you build, a skill, a muscle, a reflex that gets stronger the more you use it. You can't just get up under the bench with 350 on there. You got to work to get to that. It's the same thing as working the pause in your mind. It's a skill. Just like empathy. You got to learn it. Not born with it. Let's break down the pause though. When you pause, you're giving your mind a chance to shift from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. Dr. Daniel Goleman, the author of Emotional Intelligence, calls this the amygdala hijack. When emotions run high, logic runs low. That's why people say, I wasn't thinking. Their brain got hijacked by their feelings. The pause is the moment you take the wheel back from the hijack. That's the split second where you breathe, check in, and choose. And that's where leadership begins. Not leadership over others, leadership over yourself. I'm going to talk about metacognition being the GPS of the soul. But I'm going to do a quick commercial break, real quick.
So right now I'm just downstairs in the basement with Vintage Trendy, our clothing line, our graphic design company, and our apparel customization shop that we have here in an undisclosed location on planet Earth. I think I need to get some more shirts out. I've been neglecting my Shopify account that we have, and we've been spending mad money on that we don't have. So it's about time for me to start marketing this the proper way. So I'm going to sit here and make a weird video and let you know that I have a graphic design company. And if you guys need anything done for your company, for any parties, for a funeral, for whatever it may be, graphic design, whatever it may be, Vintage Trendy, we got you. We're a part of the Pathfinder Initiative. We got 4 seconds left. Peace, turn it off.
Now you guys know I have a graphic design company. You guys ever need shirts? Y'all seen the first commercial that I made like 2 days ago, just bugging out. Anyway, we're gonna get back to this and be serious. Metacognition, thinking about your thinking, isn't some high level concept for scholars. It's your inner GPS. It allows you to say, this feeling is real, but it doesn't get to steer me. This thought is going in the wrong direction, and this action will not serve who I'm becoming. When you learn to pause inside for just a moment, instead of being pulled by it, you start to reclaim your timeline. Napoleon Hill, he said, self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts. If you don't control what you think, you can't control what you do. Think and grow rich, brother. You know what I'm saying? Hill wasn't just talking about business, he was talking about life. Control the thought and you control the outcome. But to control the thought, you must first catch the feeling. So can we stop this chain of thoughts first? Like, come on, man. Did you know this though? Impulse isn't criminal, it's human. Let's crush the myth that impulsive or compulsive equals dangerous. Impulse and compulsion show up in everyday life. Impulse buying something just because it was on sale. How many people are guilty of that in here? Oh, all right. Feeling compelled to check your phone the second it dings. That's why I had to put my phone away, because somebody keeps sending me emails. Can you stop? You know that I'm doing this right now? And cracking a joke just to escape the discomfort? Or you know what else? Ghosting someone because facing the conversation is harder than disappearing. This is human behavior. It's programmed and it's repetitive, but it's not inherently dangerous. And here's where I need to speak directly to the system. If you're a clinician, a treatment provider, a parole hearing I don't care, or represent any agency that requires individuals to admit being impulsive or compulsive, understand that these traits do not automatically equal threat. Impulsivity and compulsivity are the foundation of nearly all addiction, crime, and destructive behavior. not because they're evil, but because they're unobserved. Unquestioned behavior becomes default behavior. That's why metacognition is essential. Because the real danger is not in feeling impulsive. The danger is when someone doesn't know how to pause. When they've never been taught that there's a space between the urge and the action. Metacognition for me was the cure to impulsivity and compulsivity. And that's what makes it the most powerful rehabilitative tool on the planet in my eyes. And here's the wildest part. Your brain is plastic, not literal plastic. Not fake, but flexible. And it's capable of rewiring itself every single day. It's called neuroplasticity. And that means new thoughts create new pathways, new habits create new defaults, new pauses, they create new power. A man is literally what he thinks, and his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. So imagine the version of you who masters the pause. What would you change? What would you become? So here's a few questions to ask yourself. When was the last time your mouth moved faster than your mind? That's like every day. Mine is doing it right now. And what's one impulsive or compulsive habit you want to bring awareness to? Not shame, just awareness. If every reaction started with a pause, how would your life look different 30 days from now? And this is the final part. We're leading to the end of this. It's called the family that built trauma. We peeled back what we thought was personality and started uncovering what was really programming. What happens when we don't do this work? It's not just going to be given to you. What happens when the mirror stays fogged up and you don't have any Windex? Or worse, the mirror gets shattered. Let's just call it what it is. Trauma doesn't just leave scars, it builds systems, it builds identities, and it builds families. And fear and ignorance, they are the mother and father of destruction. Behind most destructive behavior, crime, abuse, addiction, manipulation, self-hate, there are two root forces pulling the strings: fear and ignorance. They are the parents of dysfunction. Fear teaches you to protect yourself so well that you've never learned how to truly be yourself. And ignorance tells you that there's nothing to fix because this is just the way that it is, man. My dad was that. Fear isolates you and ignorance traps you. So imagine when we perpetuate fear and ignorance, what it does to people. And how many neighborhoods in America have fear and ignorance laced on their concrete? What the hell do you think is going to happen? Fear says, don't feel that, don't say that, don't show that. And ignorance says, this is normal, you're cool, stop complaining. And if you never question either of them, they'll raise you into somebody you don't even recognize. Not because you're broken, but because you've never been shown how to choose yourself over your conditioning. So what grows from this root in this family? Once fear and ignorance at the foundation, the rest of the family moves in. Pain, the original child, deep, unresolved, and hiding under everything. Anger, the one who tries to protect pain by exploding first. Shame, quiet but powerful. Make sure you never feel good enough. Control, who never lets their guard down because they've been blindsided so many times. Avoidance, who ducks anything real. Conversations, reflection, responsibility. Addiction, everybody got this cousin, who steps in when the feeling becomes too unbearable to manage. Codependency, who tries to fix everyone else to avoid fixing themselves. Violence, who learned that power is better than vulnerability. Manipulation, who confuses attention for love. And silence, who's the youngest, who suffocates in secrets and never says a word. They don't just show up in dysfunctional homes. They show up in successful people, in organizations, in schools, and in systems, especially that punish what they don't understand. And if no one heals, that family passes down the trauma generation after generation, calling it tradition, calling it toughness, calling it just how we are. You can't heal the world if you haven't faced the mirror. You can't talk about reform without talking about reflection. And you can't lead others into healing while running from your own. You can't ask systems to change if the people building those systems are still reacting from fear and unresolved pain themselves. Change that doesn't start with the soul will always collapse. That's why self-reflection and metacognition are revolutionary, because real reform doesn't start with policy. It starts with perspective, with people who know how to pause, with people who recognize the signs of trauma and respond with wisdom and not judgment. With wisdom, meaning you've experienced something and gained the insight and the knowledge of to be able to convey that message to the person. Systems become safe when people become whole. Here's a few more questions that might cut. What has fear made you hold on to for too long? And what lie did ignorance dress up as normal? Do you carry somebody else's pain? What beliefs do you still carry that belong to someone else's pain? Someone else's pain. We might be carrying the pain of our forefathers. Don't even know this. Who taught you that? What kind of leader, friend, parent, partner, or soul could you become without the weight of family trauma on your back? Damn, how do we got to reverse time to do that? There you go. Starts with in here. I thought I had to reverse time. Yes. I had to do this for self. And that's not to be selfish. And these questions aren't just for now. They're questions that should follow you home. So if you're at Sam's Club, wherever, man, why did I think of Sam's Club? Right there. But you know, if you're there, hey, you might bump into somebody. Yeah. But it's cool, man. I was thinking, maybe you should too. These questions should echo in your decisions, your relationships, in your silence, and in your responses. But before I go further, y'all, I want to give you something that you can carry. Something to come back to when things feel loud, when you forget who you are, when you start slipping into old patterns again, because these aren't just words on a page. This is a personal contract, a declaration, a decision. So right now, repeat this after me in your own internal voice. Say it how you talk. Say it like it's your truth. Say it like nobody's watching, because this is for you. I am not what I survived. I am what I decide to build from this moment forward. I've carried pain, but I no longer let it lead me. I've repeated cycles, but I'm not trapped in it. I forgive myself for what I didn't know, and I honor myself for still being here. I don't need anyone else's permission to grow. I don't need to wait until I'm perfect to begin, whatever the hell that is. I choose clarity over confusion, peace over performance, purpose over patterns. I will pause. I will reflect. I will speak truthfully. I will live intentionally. I am under reconstruction, and I trust who I'm becoming. But that's your vow, though. You don't have to sign it. You just have to live it. And anytime you feel like you're losing yourself again, just think of what I said. This isn't just a quote. This is something you remember when you're triggered. tired, or tempted to go backward. I am no longer acting from fear. I am no longer driven by ignorance. I am responding from a healed soul and mind, and everything that grows from me will grow from truth. Say that when no one's around. You won't remember it because I'm throwing this out, but say it when you forget who you are. This is what it said before it knew that it was going to be discarded. So here's the last part. You guys don't have to necessarily close your eyes, but if you feel like spacing, close your eyes, look down at the ground, look up at the ceiling. Do whatever you do to just take yourself to that place. Y'all know what you do where your close sanctuary is. Picture yourself as you were when you were confused, angry, scared, insecure, lost. Picture that younger version of you. See their face? Remember her? Remember him? Feel their energy. Now tell them in your own mind, you made it and I got you now. Then ask yourself 2 questions. What is one word I'm taking with me for the day? And what is one word I'm ready to leave behind for good? Y'all can come back to Earth. That's the beginning of a new path. No one has to see your answers, but they will see your evolution. You don't need a degree, a title, or permission to transform. All you need is awareness, a mirror, and the courage to see yourself fully. Because after this workshop, there's no going back and pretending. You've seen what's real, and now it's time to build with it. Proper education always causes elevation. Look inside for enlightenment. May peace be upon your life.